We start your 5 News First at 4 with the latest on breaking news in Surfside, Florida, where search and rescue efforts are now underway after a 12-story condo collapsed this morning. This is a live look right now at the scene as crews work to find survivors in this rubble. Authorities say nearly 100 people are still unaccounted for this afternoon, and at least one person has already been confirmed dead. Now take a look at this new surveillance video just released this afternoon showing the building coming down in the early hours this morning. You can see the air quickly filling with smoke and debris. The 55 apartments gone in a matter of seconds. Wow. Thanks for joining us for your 5 News First at 4. I'm Erica Thomas. First responders on the scene say it's still unclear what caused that collapse. It happened in the town of Surfside around 1:30 this morning, while many people were sleeping in the town just outside Miami. Now, the condo lined with exposed apartments, air conditioners, beds, other furniture seen clinging off the edge. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis arrived at the site of the collapse this afternoon and says he's been in contact with city and rescue officials since early this morning.
We have emergency response personnel dispatched there. The first responders were able to save a lot of people. They are going to be going through more. And, it's a really, really tragic situation. So we'll hope for the best in terms of additional recoveries, but we are bracing for some bad news, just given the destruction that we're seeing.
After arriving at the scene, DeSantis said search and rescue teams are in contact with some survivors. Friends and family of people in the condo are now gathering at a nearby reunification center and letting authorities know if their phone calls to loved ones go unanswered. We've also been hearing stories of survival following the tragedy. One man who was nearby when the collapse happened raced over when he heard the commotion. When he got there, he saw a young child with his hand sticking out.
I heard somebody yelling, and so I began to approach, and I could see what he was actually saying was, can you see my hand? Can you see my hand? And I could see a little hand sticking up, waving and, wiggling his fingers, trying to get our attention.
That Good Samaritan says the child was eventually pulled out by fire rescue and he appeared to be okay. It was one of several daring rescues performed today by first responders after the 12-story building collapsed. Austin Carter with our CBS affiliate in Miami arrived at that scene shortly after the collapse. He's been following the frantic search for survivors. He joins us now with more.
And here on the ocean side, we are getting a real look at the destruction. Take a look here behind me where you can see this partial building collapse, just a whole bunch of debris, things like air conditioning units, even what looks like a bed just clinging to the side of this building, much of it falling in that collapse. We know that at least one person was killed. 9 others were taken to area hospitals at least after this happened early this morning. We understand that this may still be a search and rescue situation. Fire rescue crews still trying to sift through all of this and possibly look for more people. You can imagine a lot of people at the time were asleep when the portion of this building came crumbling down here in Surfside. So again, still a very active situation, an active scene with a lot of debris and damage. Definitely a lot of questions about how this could happen. As for folks here on the ocean side, we're seeing a lot of them gathering, taking pictures, taking videos, talking with one another. None of them we've heard from live in this building, but many live in this area. This really comes as a shock to them. They are certainly disturbed. They want more answers about how this could happen, and we're also waiting for those as well. I'm Austin Carter, CBS 4 News.
Now, this is a story we'll continue following. We'll have any updates on the search and rescue mission on our free 5 News app and tonight on your 5 News at 5. Some more breaking news right now. A wreck on I-49 at exit 86 in Bentonville has drivers there slowing down. Emergency crews on the scene. That's happening in the southbound lanes of I-49 after a tractor trailer's cab split from the flatbed. You can see it right there. RDOT says no one was hurt, but crews are working up against the concrete barrier there to remove the wreckage off the interstate. And in other breaking news happening across the nation this afternoon, President Biden has announced he's reached a bipartisan deal to overhaul the nation's infrastructure. Today's agreement comes after White House negotiators met with a group of 10 Democratic and Republican senators over the past 2 weeks. The $1.2 trillion plan is focused on traditional infrastructure, including transportation, water, energy, and broadband internet.
And we're going to do it all without raising a cent from earners below $400,000. There's no gas tax increase, no fee on electric vehicles. And the fact is, we're going to help ensure that we'll make sure that everybody in America is in a position to be able to do what need be done.
The president says he also urged leaders in the Senate and House to work on passing his American Families Plan. Well, today we got a chance to look at training happening at the 188th Wing National Guard Base in Fort Smith. Earlier this month, we told you about the program's expansion. 5 News reporter Tiffany Lee went to the base to show us the new training happening through early July.
Here in the River Valley, you may notice something a little different flying in the skies over the next few weeks. These planes are MQ-9 Reapers. They're similar to drones in the sense of they have pilots, but pilots operate the aircrafts from the ground. The Fort Smith base has trained pilots for years on how to fly these aircrafts, but for hands-on experience, they've had to go to different bases, typically in Houston or Tulsa. But because of the airspace we have here in our own backyard, it's always been possible to fly them. So now for the first time, the aircrafts have made their way from Houston to Fort Smith, making Commander Patrick Coggan excited for what's to come.
To say it's a momentous day is an understatement, because for the first time we can show the Fort Smith area what we've actually been doing for the last 6 years by demonstrating to them what aircraft we've been flying and showing them the combat mission that we've actually been conducting for the last 4 years and actually having that connection with the community.
The exercise established Fury is scheduled to go until July 2nd. In Fort Smith, covering news where you live, Tiffany Lee, 5 News.
All right, Tiffany, thanks. Depending on the weather these next few weeks, though, that exercise could end early. Now at 4 this afternoon, 2 Decatur police officers were injured in a car crash. One is in the hospital and undergoing multiple surgeries. The Decatur police chief says new officer Taylor Bruning and field training officer Luke Rousling were in a patrol car just after 10 o'clock last night when they were involved in a 2-car crash. Now, it's unclear right now exactly how this happened, but we do know it happened on Highway 59 just south of Gravette. The driver of the other vehicle was taken to the hospital. Their condition is unknown. Now, the police chief says Decatur Officer Bruning is at home recovering from a broken ankle, and Officer Rousling is in critical condition. We'll have more information in a live report coming up at 6. Lawyers for an Arkansas state trooper are responding to a lawsuit claiming the trooper violated a pregnant woman's rights when he used a pit maneuver and flipped her SUV. They filed the response this week denying those allegations, asking that the case be dismissed.
Are you the only one in the vehicle? Okay. Well, ma'am, you've got to pull over when we stop. It doesn't matter, ma'am.
Now, that is dashcam video captured the night of this incident last July when Trooper Rodney Dunn tried to pull over Janice Harper for speeding. Harper was pregnant at the time. She turned on her hazard lights as a signal she was looking for a safe place to pull over. But a few minutes later, Harper had still not pulled over. And that's when Trooper Dunn used the pit maneuver to end the chase, hitting her and causing her SUV to hit a divider and then flip. The CDC announced today the agency will extend a nationwide ban on some evictions, but says this will likely be the final extension. The moratorium was set to expire next week, but will now last until July 31st. Meanwhile, President Joe Biden has nominated Cindy McCain to be the U.S. representative to the United Nations Agencies for Food and Agriculture. She's the widow of Senator John McCain, who Biden served with for decades in the U.S. Senate. She broke with Republicans last year and endorsed Biden's campaign for president. Former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani is facing more backlash for comments he made following the 2020 election, and his license to practice law was suspended today in New York. That suspension came after an appeals court ruled that he knowingly made false statements in an effort to get the courts to overturn Donald Trump's election loss to Joe Biden. According to the ruling, Giuliani violated the code of conduct for lawyers. He released a statement calling the ruling, quote, a disgrace, and saying he planned to challenge it. Former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin set to be sentenced tomorrow. A jury convicted the 45-year-old of second and third-degree murder, as well as second-degree manslaughter in April for the killing of George Floyd back in May 2020. Sentencing guidelines call for Chauvin to face a minimum of 12.5 years in prison on the most serious charge of second-degree murder. But the judge has already ruled the prosecution proved aggravating factors in this case, so that increases the possible sentence up to 40 years.
Taking a look at traffic conditions on this hot and humid afternoon. So far, we've got a lot of green on the map. However, we do have the accident near the Bentonville exit on exit 86. There you can see, and that's impacting all the southbound lanes. In those inside lanes as well, shifting farther towards the south though. Just the typical slowdown near Ozark. We've got that construction zone there in Franklin County, so some slowdowns there as well. Otherwise, good news for us. Dry for today, dry for tomorrow, most of Saturday, and then rain chances move in. I'll let you know how much you can expect. It's coming up.
And still ahead, there's been a lot of talk this season in Major League Baseball about pitchers using foreign substances to improve their game. Our Verified team breaks down the controversy coming up next. Plus, health officials in southwest Missouri are raising alarms about the Delta variant of the COVID-19 virus spreading across the region. How they're helping hospitals prepare for an influx of new patients.